I want you to use this sample table that you have on, let's say, what page is this? Page number 192. So the other suggestion I have for you is better for these experiments is that you watch the video first, because there are some of the reagents that we don't use for the experiment. Like for this experiment, when you do like 3 tests, this summarizes for the hydrocarbon test with the H2SO4, bromine, and permanganate, all of them. But since we don't do the anhydrous aluminum chloride, then you don't have to include this part in the table. Or if you did it before you watch the video, you just leave that part blank. So the writing is going to, or the format is going to be like this table on page 192 throughout the entire experiment 19, with exceptions that for carboxylic acids we do a titration, then you have numbers. For everything else, it's not numbers unless you do like a melting point, and then that's like specific to the experiment. But that's the format of the table that I want you to use. Please let me know if that is clear. Does it make sense? Does it make sense? And I am going to, because I promised, I'm going to give more time for submission of this lab notebook assignment. So I'm going to give the time to, let me see what time. I have a 4 p.m. I just don't know, this is your class or different? Wait. 4:08. Is this? No. 4:08, 4 p.m. Okay. I'm going to make it to 6 p.m. Is that good? 6 p.m. Would that be good enough for you to revise or complete your lab notebook and submit it, please? Lab report. I'm looking for the lab notebook. Okay, let me make sure that is that a yes or no? Okay. That's good, Victor. Thank you. That's perfect. That's perfect. Add this table. Yes, you can use that table. And I just extended to 6:30 p.m. And you can submit the lab notebook after, if you revise it, or for second submission, or if you have not submitted, you can submit until 6:30 p.m. today. Okay. Perfect. Now, this experiment 19 basically is a practice experiment. Why is a practice experiment? Because when you're done with experiment 19 in 3 weeks, then you are going to, let me lower the volume for this one. I'm really sorry. I'm kind of supposed to listen to them, the other meeting. But we're just trying to be consistent. Everyone. Okay, lower the volume, so hopefully you don't hear. Okay. So you're going to practice with the known samples, then you will get the unknown. So I want you to pay attention, even though when you look at this diagram, so you have this table, you are going to write in this the information in these cells, and is like a written statement, short sentence, or just evidence for the reaction. Yes, precipitate. Yes, color change. Yes, soluble. No reaction. But be as detailed as possible for your own reference, because when you do unknown, you can go back to this lab notebook and check what was the behavior of this known sample. Now, if my unknown is this compound, how it's going to work. So for the hydrocarbons in this case, you see you have the experimental procedure where it starts, you have the sulfuric acid. So the format is slightly different because you don't have the theory and then going to the procedure. You have the small theory section for, let's say, soluble sulfuric acid, includes the chemical reaction, and then it goes right into the procedure for this. So you have the procedure, then you get to the next experiment, which is the bromine water, then small theory section for theory, you have the reaction, then you have the procedure. So you can keep it the same way in your lab notebook or organize it any way that makes more sense to you. But since there were like too many reactions, I couldn't put all the theories in one place and then go to the procedure, because then you have to go back like 3 pages back in order to see what it's talking about. So this way it kind of makes more sense in terms of understanding why this reaction is behaving this way or not. So for next one, like potassium permanganate, you have the reaction, you have the theory, then you have the procedure. But for all of these, you had that one table that could contain the data for all of them. So you could have like more than one table, you could have 3, 4 tables, you could have one table, but one table summarizes it, it's okay. This diagram here, it shows the summary of the reaction. It kind of, it's already telling you what's going to happen, but that's not enough. You already know what's going to happen because you already know if it's alkene with the carbon-carbon double bond, of course it would react with sulfuric acid. But if it's alkane, is not going to dissolve in sulfuric acid. If it's aromatic, is not going to react with sulfuric acid. So in this case, you have 3 compounds, 2 of them has CC double bond in alkene, both of them reacts with the sulfuric acid. With the permanganate, is coming from the top list. With the permanganate, only the ones with the double bond would react with permanganate, and if it's aromatic compound, it doesn't. For bromine, same thing. The alkene would react with it, aromatic doesn't. So you already know what's supposed to happen, but you need to write down in detail the colors, what happened, how it happened. So when you have your unknown, if it's similar to one of these compounds, you identify your unknown quickly. I'm not going to spend too much time today on the pre-lab because it's basically the theory, procedure, and then you get also the chemical reactions right there. And I want you to, like, a test, like a ferric nitrate test, it tells you how does it work, and it gives you the procedure, and it tells you if you get like a strong color, you know that you have alcohol, and if it's not going to be alcohol. So basically, for the next 3 weeks, I'm going to keep the pre-labs very short, like short pre-lab discussions. I just want to make sure to answer your questions. I take attendance, and then you move on with the experiments, because there are a lot of different parts to the experiment, but it doesn't take time because you don't have reflux. It's qualitative analysis. Okay. Do you have any questions for me?
Doctor, I have a question about the following lab reports that we have to build. So you're saying that for this one, it's a sequence of very quick and short experiments, but then does that change the format of our report?
Right, thank you. It changes it doesn't change the format entirely. It's just saying that you can group them up. You can write like one introduction for hydrocarbons, and on the next paragraph you start introduction for the alcohols and phenols. So you can group them in any way that you want. It doesn't have to be like one long introduction for everything, because you're dealing with different class, so introduction could be slightly different. And then for the next one, for the abstract, you could say the tests that you perform for hydrocarbons, and what were the results, and what are the tests that you did perform for the basically it's kind of a short summary, not like in detail, just a short summary of the tests that you have performed for alcohols and phenols and for hydrocarbons, because you don't have numbers. So I'm not looking for numbers, but still I want to see the data collected in a table, the way that it shows on page 192. Did I answer your question or cut you off with your
No,
question?
partially answered it. So basically, I could do two introductions, one right next to the other, then go
Yes.
into the discussion part, which includes my table and my charts, all the information,
Yes.
and then conclusion, just the same thing. But I can do, let's say, two introductions, two discussions, or one discussion, split apart into the two
Split it. Yes, you can split two parts because you're dealing with like different type of reactions. You can
Okay.
split it.
Okay.
But I don't want like multiple titles for the introduction. I don't want you do introduction discussions for part one and then do introduction discussions for part two. In the introduction, the first part, you just separate them by paragraph.
Yeah,
So
by
paragraph
and headers.
yeah, and then paragraph 2 for the introduction for second part.
Yeah, that was my question. It's a little bit of change to the formatting, but not too extensive. Just
Yes, no. And again, you do have a choice of combining it all, but it might be kind of hard going like from one to the other and including everything in one paragraph, same paragraph.
Yeah.
So
I'd rather break it down like you suggested, so it's easier for you to see it too and grade it.
yes.
Okay. Thank you, doctor.
And basically, experiment 19 is practice of working and practicing reactions. And it does explain a lot of reaction. It helps you a lot seeing the reactions with the evidence of the reaction. It helps you for your lecture. The only suggestion I have for you, you have the time, the week of time. You can watch the video before even you start writing the procedure, because if we skip a part of the experiment, you don't have to include that in your lab notebook.
Okay.
Any questions for me? No questions? Now, if you don't have questions, I'm going to call for attendance and I let you work on your report. If you do have questions, you please let me know.